What is up, guys? Welcome to BronzeDadPlays. Today we're talking Cyberpunk 2077. The game comes out in 31 hours from when I'm recording this, so probably like 24 by the time I'm uploading it. And you know, the reviews are out. The reviews are out for PC. And it's really interesting. There's a lot of controversy out there. Now, let's clear the plate. Let's start from the top. Right now on Metacritic, for PC, this is averaging a 91. That makes it a Metacritic must play, which is a rare title, and it ranks it as number 3 for 2020 on PC. It's not that the reviews are saying this is a bad game, it's that some of the reviews are bad, right? We'll get into this as we take a look at some of them together. But to be clear, it's not always the reviewer's fault. This is just a weird situation with the game, and I wanted to review the reviews so we can understand how this game might perform. If you're looking at getting this, you've already got it, you're having potentially buyer's remorse, you're trying to cancel a pre-order or something, or maybe you're about to pre-order it because you saw that it's at 91. Let's look at the reviews. Let's look at the context of what's really going on here, so that way we can understand how Cyberpunk 2077 was reviewed. This is not the game that's going to be released. I want to make that super clear. What the reviewers played is not the game getting released, and that's weird. They couldn't use any footage on console. There are no console review codes out there, so we don't yet know how it plays on those systems. And I personally did pre-order on a base PS4, so I'm not expecting it to run like it would on a next gen, but I've got concerns. And you've also got all these bugs that reviewers are pointing out. And here's the thing. After reviews say that they played 20-30 hours of the game before getting the bug patch. So by the time you are 20 or 30 hours into a game, your opinion is solidified. You know what you're going to rate that game, unless there's some really bad ending or really amazing story twists, or the thing just really catches fire. It's not likely that you're going to change your opinion 20 or 30 hours into a game. So a lot of these reviews were already written before the bug patch came out. And that's still not the day 1 patch. That's the day 0 patch that the reviewers experienced. The day 1 patch is still yet to come for everybody. Reviewers also explained that they had to play this on a special DRM. And that DRM basically lowered the performance of the game. CDPR has come out and said this is to make sure that people don't leak the game. So CDPR purposely sacrificed performance for the reviewers to prevent leaks. Is that a thing that's going to be happening going forward? I don't know, but it makes sense, right? So that's why I say that the game we're going to get is not the game the reviewers played. And I understand if that's unfortunate. I understand if that taints opinion, but that's why there are some reviews here that just, I don't know. I don't trust all the reviews. As you scroll down Metacritic, you're going to find many hundreds on there. That could be 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever. You're also going to find lots of 90s, and then it drops off fast. You're going to find a couple 80s and some 70s down there with Gamespot at the bottom. There's also a good amount of unscored or waiting to score reviews. A lot of the writers for these reviews have come out on Twitter and basically said they know the game's not finished. They know there's things to come, and they want to rate the final product. Some have even said because of the DRM, they don't want to rate performance on console if there's no console version. Some reviewers like ACG never got a key, so his review will be based on release copy. So let's look at some of these reviews. Let's not focus on what Cyberpunk is going to do. Let's focus on what the reviewers really review. So let's take a look at some of the review websites that I tend to visit. One of the ones that's almost always in my radar is Gamesradar. I really respect their writers' opinions. I really like their style of writing, and they usually have a good pros cons at the top. Night City is going to be amazing, guys. It's acknowledged in many reviews here that the city itself is great, and that's where you play the game. So let's put a frame of reference there, right? If you're going to play in this one city for a long time, that city better be good. And this says it's great. Night City only gets richer and more enticing the longer you spend in it. See, this one says you could be looking at a completion time of somewhere in 15 to 20 hours. That is Short. That is short. Oh my God, that is short. One big positive here, there is a point of no return warning. So that's fantastic. You always worry about that with an open world, right? When can I not go back? When am I locking myself out of content? So awesome. CDPR did publish some stats a while back about The Witcher 3 and completion, and you may have seen this stat floating around that 90% of gamers don't make it to the end of the game. And CDPR did say that they were invested in making sure you saw the end of their games. So perhaps that short campaign with massive side stuff is their goal for the game. I don't know. Ooh, Johnny Silverhand. Love him or hate him by the end, there's no doubt you won't have appreciated the roller coaster that Silverhand provides you as you watch the credits roll. He's definitely a big part of the game, and I have seen that from other reviews as well, that Keanu Reeves helps carry the story. Now, this reviewer did play 50 plus hours with it, which is more than some other reviews. So they saw their first inning, completed all the main side quests, and they still have more to see. So you could be looking at something in the 100-hour range if you want to actually play the whole thing. They do acknowledge the bugs ever so slightly in here, but they didn't really talk about it much throughout the rest of the review. So in this case, they're pretending that those bugs are just going to be solved, and that's a problem. This game has been developed for so long and is so massive, and they've had so many delays that the bugs are concerning. Now, they did acknowledge it's without the day one patch. So this is the tough thing. You want them to acknowledge that there were bugs and that is a demarcation on quality. However, they aren't experiencing the game that we are going to play on release. So that's a tough place to be. They also do acknowledge the bugs have been mostly visual. So if it's not game breaking, it's probably pretty low on the list. If they're trying to push out the game and make the date that they promised, they're going to ignore visual only bugs. Sorry guys, priorities. Let's check out IGN. Now, for all the memes about IGN and the way they score, oftentimes their writing is still fine. Oftentimes, if you read between the lines of their writing, you can understand what they're actually saying. Yeah, IGN delivered a 9 out of 10. So I'm expecting that their real score would have been a 7 or 8. All right, let's look through this thing. They acknowledge the loads of distracting bugs right off the top. Now, it says it took them 6 hours to reach the moment where the logo splashed on the screen for the first time. I've seen varying numbers on that. I've heard 3 hours. I've heard 6. I've heard like 8. It all depends on how much you actually dive into the world. And the thing is, that doesn't actually say how long the game's going to be. That's just where they decided in the story this was a really good time to say we're kicking off in earnest. You could put that halfway through the game if you really wanted. Or you could be like Kingdom Hearts and put a 2.9 there after the tutorial. Night City is so dense, diverse, and consistently beautiful, there's opportunities to stumble upon unexpected sights at all the time within it. For example, I played nearly 40 hours before I discovered there's practically an entire forest hidden under one of the busiest interchanges in town. See, that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to be really cool about the game, is discovering how deep the city is and getting to really peek behind the curtains of every little thing. At one point, I made a recommendation to a character at the end of a mission, and the next time I saw him, I found out he had lost his job as a result. That wasn't a fail state, as there was plenty more to do with him after, but knowing that his fate might look very different from someone in someone else's game where they'd picked up a different choice made me feel my playthrough feel more personal. Oh, that's a juicy detail right there. When you see choices result later on. Oh, I love that. Mass Effect 2 was that kind of game, right? Mass Effect 3 was not. Mass Effect 2 was. I was shocked to discover one of my favorite missions early on wasn't even offered to another player because of a single decision we'd made differently. So you got to play through this thing multiple times. You have to have multiple characters to really understand it. That's really exciting. Maybe IGN's number's real here. Just because something is a side mission doesn't mean it's not important to the story. That's a key note there. Just like The Witcher 3, you have these side missions that actually have personal stories attached to them that build the world out for you so you have a better understanding of everything that's going on. It's not just your campaign, it's the world's campaign. And that's awesome. It was only after reloading a save from from before the point of no return and spending another 20 hours playing through side missions, falling in love with characters, leaving more of a mark on Night City. I went back to finish the story once again to find my options had been massively expanded through my actions. Now that's curious. So they're saying here that the ending wasn't very enjoyable, but the more they played in the game, the better the ending became. They had more options because of the hours put in elsewhere. After 45 hours, able to beat it 7 different ways, including 3 drastically different final missions and 5 wildly different but satisfying endings. So in other words, play the game. Do not mainline this campaign. You will experience not only less of the game, but a lesser ending to the game if you don't actually play it and expand the world. That's what I like about this IGN review right here. This is going to invalidate some of the other reviews you're seeing out there that just sped to the end, that did 18 hours, they hit the ending, they said the game sucked. That wasn't the ending of the game. They barely played it. So, PC Gamer, now we're in the 70s. 78 by PC Gamer. So they clearly spent time with the game. But then because bugs, minus 22 points. I don't know. That doesn't feel like a good, it feels like a really good review, except for those bug points. I don't know. All right, and then the lovely Gamespot. If you didn't already know, Gamespot scored it a 70. From what I can tell, the life path choice didn't affect more than the way the game starts and some dialogue options throughout, possibly some minor side quests. I skipped a bunch again. You guys are aware that the video is skipping around, right? Okay. So it appears that the IGN writers actually talked to other writers. Maybe there was multiple people at IGN reviewing. Maybe they just have buddies in the industry, right? These guys didn't compare to anybody. They just said, oh, didn't really have an effect on the story. Meanwhile, IGN's like, what? You chose that? I didn't even get that mission. So I can't really respect those opinions because they didn't understand that maybe the story is different. You can't know that a story is different if you only played the story once, right? Unless you've compared to something else, you don't know that yours is the good version, the bad version, a different version, whatever. Cyberpunk in general is not cheap. On top of that, an early story mission is gated by a significant sum of money, so I had to do a lot of grinding before I could afford a proper cyberduck that makes my quick hacks truly effective. Till then, I had to use guns a lot more than I wanted to, which didn't fit how I initially built my character. They go on to talk a lot about how you need the right stuff to upgrade your RAM, to do things. Here's the thing. CDPR specifically built this world in a way that is dystopian, meaning people require the cyberware to live. People need the cyberware in order to expand their life, in order to be a part of the world. There's social pressure, there's advertisements and marketing. You're chained to these corporations in the cyberpunk world. Meaning when cyberware is not cheap, that's a story component. That's not a balance problem. That is them making you grind away because the person in this world would have to grind away for that one small object that then just becomes your new normal. You are purposely constrained because people in this dystopia are broke. People are downtrodden and oppressed, despite the fact they have all this wonderful technology. The technology didn't make their life better, it just made it different. This is commentary on our society as it exists today, where I'm surrounded by multiple computers right now. I've got a computer in my pocket, and that doesn't mean my life is good, it just means it's different. I found that money was often nearly the only obstacle when it came to progression. Granted, I was playing Cyberpunk on a tight deadline, so I couldn't spend much time doing odd jobs. Okay, have we seen the common thread here? The people not exploring the world and not playing the full game are having a worse experience. And they were on a set deadline. Review codes came in late. You got a drop date. If you don't get your review out on the day the embargo lifts and everybody can get their reviews out, your video will not get traction, which means you're not getting paid. That's the way it is. The ads are one of many aesthetic choices in Cyberpunk 2077 that are grading with no real point. There's one ad in particular that's a topic of much discussion pre-release. Features a feminine person with a giant exaggerated veiny erection in their leotard and advertises a drink called Chromaticore, which the tagline, mix it up. Yes, that's the point. the point is here, and you just went, you just right past you. You're dodging the point, man. Hey, has he never seen a Cyberpunk movie? Have you never seen those hyperfuture neon worlds where there's ads everywhere? There's ads streamed into your brain. Like, oh my god, this is such a bad review. Then he reviews the sex scenes, talking about how they're POV and they're awkward. It's a video game. What review for a video game includes the sex scenes unless it's the hot coffee mod in Grand Theft Auto? There's so much about this review that was looking for things to be wrong. They talk about how much they love the game and they love the world, but then they find these super minute things. Like if they wrote a review for The Witcher 3 right now, they'll talk about the fact the horse doesn't have balls. Like, it is that detailed in their complaints that they're totally missing the big picture of it all. They're standing in front of the Louvre and looking at beautiful art and talking about how the paint's chipping. Yeah, no shit. It's old. That's part of what you appreciate. Oh, the GameSpot review kills me. It really kills me. And some of you probably are watching this loving the GameSpot review because they're speaking for the common people. They're not. It's just another review, guys. It's just another review. Let's check out Game Informer. Some of the most memorable characters and story arcs are tucked off to the side, and you may never see them if you don't veer off the critical path, which can be completed in roughly 15 to 20 hours. So again, they're quoting that 15 to 20 hour mark. And again, they're saying you need to get off the main campaign. You need to play the game. Not since Elder Scrolls Skyrim have I played a game so riddled with so many graphical bugs at launch. The danger of entering a seedy bar loses its bite when the patron stands motionless in a T-pose. Oh, but they did not acknowledge the day 0 or the day 1 patch in here. They did acknowledge that you could speedrun the story and there's great stories on the side, but they don't say how long they played for. So they may have completed their entire review before the day 0 patch. I don't know. So that just because it's a 90 doesn't make it a good review. Just because there's things I agree with in here doesn't make it a good review. There's things missing from here. And again, this is a 90. I agreed with the other 90. I agreed with IGN's 90 based on the writing. I don't agree with Game Informer's 90 based on the writing. Screen rant. Well, Cyberpunk 2077 does many things well, however, it doesn't feel as though it really innovated much. Gunplay is good for an RPG, but obviously lacking when compared to FPS games. Again, that's not the game it is. But what's interesting is that so many games called out for lack of innovation. I could personally argue that the size and scope of the world is innovation, but why does a game have to innovate? Genshin Impact innovated nothing. It's Breath of the Wild with anime. And it's the largest Discord server that exists in the world right now. That game is massive and free to play. They didn't have to innovate anything. They stole, and it's a good game. Okay, let's wrap this up. Okay, so let's talk about our commonalities. The more people played, the more they liked the game. The more people did side quests, the more they liked the game. The more people did side quests and side jobs, the greater the ending became. The more people just let the game wash over them, the better they enjoyed the world. Yes, there are bugs, but a lot of these reviewers were 20 to 30 hours into the game before they actually got the bug patch that did help. The lower scored reviews did not acknowledge a change in the amount of bugs. The higher scored reviews did. Look, I'm not trying to simp for Cyberpunk. I looked at these lower scored reviews hoping that would be reflective of my thumbnail, that the lower scored reviews would be more honest, more transparent, and point out things that are more real with the game. But the lower scored reviews basically just ignored parts of it. Took off loads and loads of points for bugs, which theoretically could be fixed. Again, you should lose points for lack of quality. However, They didn't acknowledge the fact that most of their playtime was in a buggy state before the true patch came in. They also just totally looked for minute details that the average gamer isn't gonna care about. These are not reviews written for an average person. These are reviews written for industry people, that they want perfection out of every product. They want to be counter to the narrative to get more clicks. That's how I feel about those lower level reviews. Read them yourself, breathe them in. It's not that the person didn't play the game. It's not that those things don't exist. It's that those things aren't important. What's important to a game? Fun, value. So if people are acknowledging that the game can be played 50, 100 hours, still have things to do. If people are acknowledging that the game can have 7 endings, that you got to go back and experience things totally differently. If you make decisions, that the story will branch and support those. It won't hit a fail state. You'll instead get a different game than somebody else. People are acknowledging all the variety that's out there in this world and how deep it is and how they can totally miss areas of the game for 20, 30, 40 hours and not know it's there, to go then explore it and see all the variety of cultures, to live in this dystopian society. That makes the game. That's the fun factor that many of us who have been following Cyberpunk are chasing. These things about the type of outfit was misnamed, I don't care. The misuse of the word ofrenda, I don't care. Those aren't going to make or break the game. Those are you looking for a reason to hate Cyberpunk 2077. All right, we'll have the game in our hands tomorrow, guys. So I'm looking forward to learning if I like the game or not. There have been plenty of games that have scored an 80 to 90 before that I pre-ordered and then I ended up hating. I hope Cyberpunk 2077 isn't one of them, but based on my review of the reviews, I think I'm gonna love it. I think it's gonna be great, guys. So till next time, see ya.